A new day in the city of Metropolis, the bright rays of the sun that filtered through the window in the room of a freckled green-haired boy, woke him from his sleep. Already awake, it took a few seconds for his brain to be fully active, so he just sat on the edge of the bed and looked at the floor, thoughtful. He still remembers the kiss Donna gave him. He wouldn't deny it, he liked it. It was his first kiss and it was with a pretty girl, but now he knew that Donna liked him, and to be honest, he wasn't ready for that. Back in his world, he had never had the need to have a girlfriend or for a girl to confess to him, but here it is happening right now. The good thing is that Donna gave him a chance to think about it and had in mind each and every possibility he could choose depending on whether he accepts or not. He decided to worry later. Now he had to get ready to go to school. It was Friday, so he would have the whole weekend to relax and think about Donna. And he opened his eyes wide. Friday, he felt like he promised something important, but what? And he thought until he remembered a certain invitation from the magician of his group. Right, today Z invited me to dinner at her house. Izuku saw this simply as his friend wanting to introduce him to her father. The man wanted to meet him because of his origin and was curious to see him, but he had no idea that the magical girl also had other plans in mind for dinner. Already with his clothes on along with his inseparable slippers, he left his room heading to the dining room for breakfast. Sitting at the table, Izuku could see Eri eating some pancakes and Diana eating an omelet. "Good morning," Izuku greeted the two present, who smiled at him. "Good morning, Dad." Little Eri was ready to go to school. Today she would take her and pick up Diana because Wonder Woman had the day off. "Hey Izuku, good morning to you too." Diana put on a mischievous smile when she saw Izuku's eyes and, "Tell me, did something interesting happen last night?" Izuku blushed upon hearing that question. Did she know? Nothing happened, he said nervously. "Okay Izuku," he replied, smiling. "Something else, remember that if you make her cry, you'll pay for it." The smile that Diana gave him was pure, very pure. That smile had something that made the green-haired boy's nerves stand on end. "What are you talking about, Aunt?" asked the innocent Eri. "Oh? You're welcome, honey. I was just reminding your daddy that he must be good to Donna," Diana replied as if nothing had happened. Now Izuku was convinced that she knew about last night. "Good morning." A female voice in a melodious tone sounded behind Izuku. When Izuku turned around, he found a radiant Donna. He could even swear he saw a pink aura coming out of her and that her eyes were sparkling. "Gee, good morning," he greeted nervously. Seeing her face was very difficult after the kiss. After an awkward breakfast for Izuku and a glorious breakfast for Donna, the two headed off to Metropolis School. The whole way Izuku couldn't even talk to Donna, and the girl seemed the happiest in the world, just smiling at him every time he turned to look at her. Upon arriving, Donna went directly to her class. In the first hour, they didn't have a shared class and he would be alone in his class with his friend Garth. After the first hour, Izuku went to greet the girls. "Hey girls, what are you doing?" I asked, confused as I see them surrounding Donna and seeming to question her. "Nothing, we're not doing anything," Jessica shouted, trying to convince Izuku. "We're just asking how did you do on your exam. If that." "Oh, I didn't know I had a test today?" Izuku just tapped his chin with his finger, looking up. "You don't have to think about it too much, nerd," said Kara, rubbing Izuku's head. "What do you say we're going to eat?" Karen asked the group. "Yes, let's go. Today is Taco Friday," Barbara shouted enthusiastically. "Sure, let's go. Come on Izuku, let's get a table for everyone." Donna walked, taking the arm of a blushing Izuku and taking him to the cafeteria. The scene was seen by the girls, who were jealous, especially a magician who touched her chest when she saw them. Today when Donna went to the classroom, all the girls saw her bursting with happiness, and then when they saw her alone they decided to ask her why. She was very honest when she answered them what happened last night. The others blushed a little and then emitted a little jealousy, but they couldn't answer her, because at that moment Izuku came to say hello. Z was clear that she liked her green-haired friend since she saw him. She felt as if something about him attracted her, and it was very obvious to everyone that she was very jealous when it came to him. She even claimed to be the only one who could call him Bunny. Today would be his chance and he wouldn't waste it. Izuku will know what she feels for him. In the cafeteria, the group of friends sat at the table to eat, although seeing Barbara devour those tacos as if there were no tomorrow took away most of their appetite. Garth also accompanied them. The short boy had told them that he met another boy with powers. It turned out to be Hal Jordan. Garth discovered him by seeing him use his powers to see above the cheerleading locker room window. But the idiot forgot that they didn't have practice first thing in the morning but at the last minute. That bothered the girls, especially Donna and Jessica, one being friends with some of their members and the other because of how cheeky the brown-haired guy can be. Jessica decided she would have a little talk with him before leaving. But that wasn't the only topic of conversation for the group. So she'll be coming on Monday? Karen spoke up. It turns out Megan will be at school on Monday. They even arranged everything so that none of her classes will be without at least one member of them. Yes, Megan will be at school. It will be fun to be with her, Z answered. She heard from Megan that she would attend here. At first she didn't like the Martian for being so close with her bunny, but she turned out to be a good friend and they got along very well. It's good that you're with us, so you can learn more about teenage life, said Barbara, eating her 18th taco. Are you going to eat that? She said to Karen, who had one of her tacos in her hand. Without waiting for an answer, she took it from her and ate it in one bite. I'm glad Megan can study with us, said Izuku. He passed one of his tacos to Karen, who thanked him with a smile. Barbara pouted when she saw him, and he gave her his other taco. He had about 4, so it was no problem. Bunny? Remember that today you will go to my house for dinner, Z reminded Izuku, who blushed a little at the nickname. Sure, what could I take to your father? He asked. His mother had told him many times that if he went to someone else's house he had to bring something to offer. You don't have to worry, my father was the one who asked to meet you, he replied, smiling at the freckled man. The others looked at the two with a little jealousy. Oh, guys, what do you think I found in my locker today? Garth asked. I don't know, a comic book nerd? Kara shrugged carefree. No, but I would like to. Well, I found this. The boy took out of his pocket a small letter that had a heart in the middle. Oh, a love letter? Barbara asked, taking it and proceeding to read it. Although it is somewhat abrupt, it seems that if it is a love letter addressed to you, I could tell that the person who wrote it had never been in love by the way he expresses it. Now you're Dr. Love? Jessica asked, amused. No, but I know about these things. After all, I'm also a detective, she replied, smiling and puffing out her chest with pride. Congratulations, Garth, you're a great guy, no wonder that girl likes you, said Z, smiling. You don't know who gave it to you? Izuku asked, and Garth shook his head in denial. No, I just found it in the locker when I opened it, he replied. After that, everyone went to their classes, with Izuku taking the majority with Donna. To his nervousness, she couldn't stop smiling at him every time he saw her. He was very red and embarrassed. The other girls couldn't ignore that, and they found it very nice to see an Izuku in that state. The boys looked with envy, jealousy and anger at Izuku, who stole the attention of all the girls. Well, except for 3 boys. One was their friend Garth, the other was a redhead that they cooked in sweet justice named Wally, and the last one was a big and mysterious boy who was scary. Izuku has never felt so much like the center of attention until today. Classes had already ended, and each of the students who did not have clubs today went directly to their homes or to spend the day with their friends. And that last thing is what our group of heroes would do. They all went to Dulce Justicia to have a drink, except Garth, who had to go home for some business. Upon arriving at their destination, they went to their table to wait. They had already placed their orders as soon as they entered. It's too bad Eri isn't here, said Kara, eating her ice cream. She should be home by now. My sister said she wanted to spend the day with her, Donna explained while eating her strawberry cake. And tomorrow, how about we bring her? Karen said while drinking her milkshake. We shouldn't give little Eri so much sugar, how about we go somewhere else? Jessica thought as she took another bite of her lemon pie. She thought giving her so much sugar could be bad for her. How about we go to the fair at the pier? We could take advantage and take Megan too, said Z. That's a good idea, Izuku smiled, eating his apple pie. Okay, sounds like a plan, said Barbara with her eyes closed. She simply had a chocolate shake, she was too full from so many tacos. After a sweet mento, each one went to their homes, Izuku and Donna even together. Closer than usual at Donna's request. The two walked away holding hands. Luckily for Donna, Izuku couldn't refuse at the moment of being nervous. Thanks to her sister, she knew that she had to get into Izuku's mind all the time, so she would have more chances of him saying yes. Of course, none of the others saw that action, except for Z, who was just more determined for tonight. Already in the Amazon's apartment, they found a rather peculiar scene because in the living room there were not 1, but 2 Eries. What the hell? Izuku asked, seeing his daughter in double. Why are there 2 Eries? Donna asked, confused. The Eries were watching TV and heard Donna's question. With a smile, the two of them got up and ran to hug Izuku, one on his leg, and the other who jumped to his chest when Izuku caught her. Welcome, Dad. The 2 Eries smiled at Izuku. I'm back, can someone tell me what's going on? Izuku asked, and at that moment Diana entered the room. Hey girls, how was your day? Diana smiled at the 2 teenagers, not caring that there was a copy of Eri. Sister, Why are there two Eries? Asked the younger Amazon. Diana smiled at the girls. Eerie was playing with Megan with that transformation thing, Diana replied. One of them must be Megan. Did they play a trick on her? Diana replied. Megan? Izuku looked closely at the two Eries, and for him they were exactly the same. Wow, it's impossible to tell which one is the original. As he said that, the girl hugging his leg pouted and the one in his arms smiled more. You're bad, Daddy, you should have recognized your real daughter. The Erie who was on the ground said and let go of Izuku's leg. Wait a minute, if you're the real Erie, then she is? Donna looked closely at the Erie that Izuku was carrying. Yes, I'm Megan. The other Erie transformed until she was completely Megan. Everything was normal, except for why Izuku had Megan in his arms and she crossed her arms around his neck. They looked like a couple about to kiss, and Izuku noticed that and blushed. What's wrong? You're red, are you sick? Showing real concern, Megan pressed her forehead against Izuku's. You're hot, I think you have a fever? And no tea, that's it. I see, could you let go of me? Izuku nervously asked Megan. She immediately let go of him. It seems you have another rival, said Gia in the ear of her sister, who watched the two with a frown. Dad, Megan can turn into any girl too, isn't that amazing? Erie raised her little hands in the air asking to be picked up. Izuku took it in his hands and smiled at her. It's incredible, but you shouldn't confuse me, Erie, besides there can only be one you. The father and daughter scene was too tender for the others. Diana laughed as if her little sister looked excitedly at Izuku, emitting that pink aura and sparkling eyes along with a blush and a silly smile. Megan liked how Izuku was with Erie. It was very noticeable that the two enjoyed each other. A few hours later Megan had to go to Z's house, but she didn't go alone. Izuku, having to go to dinner at the magical girl's house, went to accompany her. They decided to walk around the city so they could talk for a while and get to know each other better. During the conversation, Izuku couldn't help but think that Megan was very similar to Nehire, not physically but in her way of being. She was very innocent and full of questions, but Megan read his mind and asked who the girl was. It turns out that Megan read other people's minds without their permission. For her it was nothing bad, on her planet it was very normal. If you could read minds, why waste time talking? Izuku explained that it was very rude, she should only read her friends' minds if they gave her permission. Upon arriving at the Zatara home, the two knocked on the door, and it was opened by Z, who was much more dressed up than usual. She had her classic outfit, but what was different was that she wore makeup and crimson lipstick. Izuku couldn't deny that she looked beautiful. Hi Z, Izuku came with me and says he's coming to dinner with you, said Megan, entering the house and going up the stairs. Welcome Izuku, my father was waiting for you. Z let the green-haired man in and took him to the dining room. Z daughter, who knocked on the door. A man's voice was heard from the kitchen. It's just Megan, Daddy's here and brought Izuku. He replied. An elegant man entered the dining room. He had brown hair with a few gray strands, he wore a black suit and dress shoes. You must be the boy my daughter told me so much, the man said with grace and a smile, embarrassing Z. Daddy. Don't say that. He blushed and looked at Izuku. Don't believe him Izuku. And nice to meet you Mr. Zatara, my name is Izuku Midoriya. Izuku introduced himself with a small bow. You don't need to call me young sir Izuku, call me Giovanni the man asked. Okay, ma'am, I mean Giovanni, Izuku quickly corrected himself. Dinner will already be served, why don't you sit down? The man returned to the kitchen, and afterward the two young men went to sit down. Z asked Izuku to sit next to her. She smiled at him while playing with the rim of her glass. Izuku felt very nervous, so Z took his hand under the table. That didn't help much. A while later Megan came down and sat down too. The table was rectangular, so she sat in front of the other two. Smiling at Izuku and Z, Megan proceeded to tell them how her day with Erie was. A while later Giovanni came back with a tray with plates of something that made Izuku drool, but he quickly cleaned it up. My daughter told me your favorite dish is katsudon, right? Giovanni had 4 cups of hot katsudon and gave one to each of them. Yes, it's my favorite food, I thought you wouldn't remember, I only said it once said Izuku referring to Z. Oh, I remembered Bunny, if it's your favorite dish I definitely had to try it, but I didn't think my dad would make it for tonight. Z looked back at her father who smiled at her. Yes, katsudon is very good, I remember I tried it once at a Japanese restaurant, said the man. Besides, my daughter is very happy with you. I had to make something you'd like, but how about we eat it before it gets cold? At the moment of saying that, everyone started to eat, telling a joke or a funny story. A very pleasant dinner for everyone. After finishing dinner, Giovanni asked Izuku to accompany him to his studio. Z wanted to go with them but his father denied it. This was something between men. When they left, Megan turned to see Z. A man's thing? What do you think they do? The Martian asked. I don't know, a man thing? Z thought with a finger on her chin and closed her eyes. In his imagination his father and Izuku were in the studio with a pink background. Young Izuku, I ask you to take care of my daughter, she is my beautiful flower and I am sure that you will be able to protect her, said Z's father in his imagination. You don't have to ask me, Giovanni, I will protect Z with my life if necessary. In all these years I have never met a girl as cute, elegant and beautiful as she is. Sir, I ask you to let me have Z as my girlfriend, Izuku said. Young Izuku, I'm sure you'll be able to take care of her. That passion you have for my daughter tells me you're worthy of her, and you have my full blessing, Izuku. No. Son. With that, Z's imagination ended. His girlfriend, Z murmured with a blush. Are you okay? Megan asked when she saw her. In another part of the house, in Giovanni Zatara's study, the man was sitting at his desk and Izuku was in a chair in front of him. Well, Izuku, why don't you tell me about your world? Giovanni was interested in Izuku's story and wanted to meet him as soon as his daughter mentioned him. Firstly, with his paternal instinct, he told him that his daughter was falling in love, which was very obvious, and secondly, he wanted to know Izuku's place of origin, a world where everyone had developed superhuman abilities. With that, Izuku was telling him everything from the origin of the quirks to the new era of heroes. Giovanni was very attentive and to be honest he liked how excited the boy was when talking to him about the heroes. He also told him about his battles and was impressed with what he had to live through in each encounter. He even told him about his scars. Giovanni was sure there was no boy more worthy of being with his daughter. At first he wanted to intimidate him a little, but with each new story from the young man's past he was able to get to know him better. He knew he wasn't lying. Each of his words were true. And that's how I ended up here, Izuku finished telling and saw Giovanni, who was thinking, what's going on, Giovanni? Izuku, do you want to go back to your world? Giovanni asked. To be honest, I do want to, but another part of me also wants to stay here. I made very good friends both in my world and in this one, but I also have my mother in my world and I want to see her, but many told me that it was almost impossible for me to return. Cyborg is trying to do it, as is Dr. Fate, and they both have said that it is very likely that I will have to stay here. Izuku lowered his head a little, but felt a hand on his shoulder, and when he raised his head he saw Giovanni smiling at him, standing next to him. Izuku, I know that anyone in your situation would think the same, after all you already have your family, but I ask you why if you leave you will also leave very sad people here, like my daughter, and as her father I want to protect her, do you understand? But that's why I know that you must take care of her too, and when the moment of truth comes I ask you not to hurt her so much, Giovanni said, looking at Izuku with a smile. He could only nod in affirmation. I'm glad you understand, you know it wouldn't be bad to have you in the family. What do you mean? I asked, confused. After that man-to-man talk, the two went down to the living room where Z was reading a book. Z, ready, I'm done talking to your friend, the father said to his daughter. That's great, and what did you talk about? Z asked curiously. Oh, nothing important, honey, is it right, son? Giovanni said and placed a hand on Izuku's shoulder. Yes, nothing important, replied the green-haired man. But neither of them saw the smile that Z had. In his mind that his father called Izuku son, it seemed that his imagination was right. Come on, Izuku, I have something to talk to you about. Z took Izuku to his room. The two were sitting on Z's luxurious bed. What do you want to talk about? I asked a little nervously. Bunny. You know what I feel for you, right? Z asked. After all, everyone knew it was very obvious. Many times at school, her other friends from the drama club would ask her about the progress she's made with the freckled boy. Izuku wasn't as dense as many would think. He noticed how close Z was to him and even how jealous she became. He knew she had feelings for him but didn't know how to deal with it. Why yes, Z, I have something to tell you, Izuku said and takes the magician's attention. Izuku told her everything that happened with Donna and how he had kissed her and waited for her confirmation. Z had been a little upset, she already knew that and didn't want to hear it again. Izuku, I also have to tell you something, said Z. A few days ago I spoke with Diana and she told me that several couples could get married on her island. You just had to speak to the Queen of the Amazons to allow a man to enter. What do you mean? Izuku asked, not sure what he was getting at by saying that. Izuku, I like you a lot, everything about you from your shyness to your cute freckles, your tender way and how you are a hero when you are one, everything about you makes me fall in love. since I met you for the first time something attracted me to you, that's why I don't want to lose you, and it will sound weird but if I have to share you with 1 or even 4 more girls I don't care, said Z, determined. I like you and I won't give in. I will talk to Dana about this, but you have to know that I will not give up on you. Izuku didn't know what to say. She is so willing to share him, just to be able to be by his side. It would be very sexist to think about it, but as crazy as it seems, she likes the idea. She quickly gave herself a mental slap. Z, I don't know what to say, Izuku said, and Z silenced him by placing his finger on his lip. Don't say anything, we'll have to wait, but tell me. Did you like it too? Z was curious to know. If he said no, she would be devastated. Z, I've never had a girlfriend, not even a girl who liked me, and I liked her. With the last thing, Z felt a little sad and shed a few tears. Izuku felt miserable seeing them, so he took her cheeks and wiped them with his thumbs. But I know something, I know that I feel very happy by your side. With Dana it's the same, and when she confessed to me, you were one of the reasons why I doubted so much whether to accept or be her girlfriend. Are you saying you liked it too? I asked with a blush and a smile. You could say yes, Z, I like you, but this guy you like also likes someone else. Are you sure you want to continue with? Izuku was silenced again by Z. Izuku, shut up and kiss me, Z asked. Izuku hesitated a little, but proceeded to take her face and brought his lips to the girl's, who closed her eyes waiting. Finally Izuku gave Z a simple kiss. The girl took his neck and deepened the kiss. Izuku on the other hand instinctively took her hips. After a while the girl used her tongue and dominated Izuku, throwing him to the bed. Izuku had no chance against Z, she dominated him. Maybe this kind of thinking was what made people think he was Yuke. After a while they separated due to lack of air. With their faces red, Z looked into the green-haired man's eyes and smiled at him. Do I think I'm ahead of Dana or not? I asked Izuku. Why do you say that? Izuku looked confused. Well, Dana gave you your first kiss, but you gave it to me, she said, giving Izuku a small kiss on his cheek. Maybe you should go, it's getting late. You're right, Z, I love you, he said, blushing. Izuku, I love you, but you must give Dana an answer too, do you hear me? He said authoritatively. I think he has one, shouldn't I? Izuku scratched the back of his head. Don't be insensitive and give Dana a yes. You told me you like her, didn't you? Z said, winking at him. I'll see you tomorrow, Z. Izuku said goodbye and left the room. As Z left, she threw herself onto the bed and let out a scream, using her pillow to muffle it. But neither of them noticed that the short Martian girl saw them putting their heads through the wall. I was curious about an article in a teen magazine that talks about kissing, so I took advantage of the fact that her room was next to Z's to ask her, but she saw the freckled boy and his friend kissing in bed. Megan saw Z dominating in the act. She felt her face burning as she saw them in the act. For the first time in all her years of life she wanted to not be so curious as to see her friend. She felt that she would no longer be able to see the face of her green-haired friend. Already through the illuminated streets of Metropolis, Izuku found himself walking towards the Amazon's apartment. He continued thinking about everything that had happened with Z. He admitted that he liked the kiss. Izuku could count on one hand all the girls who kissed him either on the cheek or on the lips, and of course his mother and aunt don't count. Dana and Z are the only girls who confessed to him and the only ones who kissed him. He was still wondering how he could make them fall in love to the point that they would share him in order to have him. Maybe a presence beyond him was having fun with what was happening to him. And Izuku had more doubts for the future. For example, Kara. Izuku knew that the Kryptonian had or was developing feelings for him beyond friendship. He had no idea why, but sometimes Kara was very defensive when the girls from Metropolis High approached her. Kara always chased them away with that intimidating look of hers. I knew from Superman that Kryptonian women naturally sought out strong and intelligent men, and that they had a very strong sense of possessiveness, so if she fell in love with him she would have a super jealous girl. In Barbara's case, he had no idea what she thought. That girl is a mystery most of the time. Even if he did know, Barbara was much smarter than he was and would know how to hide her tracks. She wasn't a detective for nothing. Izuku had the feeling that she knew everything about him and what was going on with the others, and he had that look of I know what's going on but I won't tell you anything. And then Jessica, he noticed that the Latina had become closer to him, and when they went out alone, yes, on some occasions they went out alone, and why didn't the rest know? Well, it was to do things like visit animal shelters and other times go to the parks to train with a good trot. But anyway, Izuku noticed that she was becoming more flirtatious with him lately, not to the extent of Z or even Dana, but it was clear that she wanted something more. On one occasion while jogging around the park, They took a short break under the shade of a tree and the Latina took the opportunity to rest her head on Izuku's shoulders, also the occasions when she started wearing more revealing clothes to go with him, like the Saturday when they went to clean the beach. Instead of her classic green dress, she was in very short shorts and a green shirt that squeezed her chest. Luckily Jessica felt so embarrassed by the looks of all the men on the way home that she did not wear that outfit again. And lastly is Karen. Izuku liked the little girl. She sometimes reminded him of how he was before UA. Karen wasn't as bold or obvious as the others, but he has noticed how she has become much more open with him. With her it is very confusing to know if she feels something or not, but just having her friendship is enough for him. After all, he likes her a lot. If he doesn't want something more than friendship, that's fine. With all the problems that Izuku has in life, he never imagined that women would be one. He can deal with abuse, villains, life or death situations, even fight face to face with the greatest evil in his world, but women are incomprehensible and confusing to understand. The greatest mystery for men will always be women. Coming out of his thoughts, Izuku has finally reached the doors of his home. Carefully opening it and entering, he can see Dana along with Eri making some drawings. It was a very nice image that Izuku had in front of him, Eri sitting and drawing on the table what seemed to be Deku's suit and Dana helping her color it. "I'm here." Izuku called their attention and the girls looked up with a smile. Eri got off her chair and ran up to Izuku. "Welcome, Dad." Greeted Eri, Dana approached the albino to greet him but saw something on the freckled boy's cheek that made her eyes moisten, and turning around she walked to her room, closing the door, all under the confused gaze of Izuku and Eri. "What happened?" Izuku asked, seeing where Dana went. Dad. Eri tried to get his attention and Izuku looked down at her. "You have a kiss on your cheek," indicated the albino. Izuku hesitated a little and ran straight to the bathroom to look at himself in the mirror. And indeed it had the mark of Z's kiss. He remembered that she had lipstick on at dinner. Now she understood Donna's previous behavior. Leaving the bathroom, she went to the Amazon's room and tried to knock on the door, but no one answered. She kept going and still there was no signal. Eri approached and called Donna and the door opened a little. "What, Sniff, do you need?" Sniff, Donna said between sobs with the door half open looking at Eri, but she noticed that Izuku was next to her and tried to close the door again without success because Izuku put his foot on it. "We need to talk," said the freckled man with a guilty face. Minutes later the two were alone in the room sitting on Donna's bed, neither knew what to say. Donna continued to sob a little but calmed down. Izuku didn't know how to act in this situation. Taking a little breath, Izuku looked at the Amazon who also looked at him. "Donna, I'm not good at this kind of thing. Let me tell you what happened at dinner and after it, okay?" Izuku proceeded to tell Donna everything without omitting any detail of what happened. Donna felt upset at a certain point. Her sister gave advice to another girl who wanted the same man as her. Well, she knew that her sister gave the idea of sharing him, but she still had to have informed her. She also felt relieved to hear that Z is willing for her to be with Izuku too. It will be weird at first, but she will find a way to deal with it. "Donna, Z has made me understand that I feel for you, and to be honest, I like you. It's weird if I admit it, that a man is with more than one sounds very bad, but I love you both, and this kind of things have never happened to me. Hell, I have never even kissed a girl until today. What I want to say, Donna, is, are you sure you want to be with me?" Izuku finished saying everything he had in his chest. He saw the Amazon who only smiled at him and hugged him, putting his head on her breasts. "Of course I want to be with you, even if I share you. Z is a good friend, I'm sure we'll find a way to make it work," said Donna, "but we'll have to explain it to everyone and I don't know how they'll take it. Imagine Eri when we tell her that now she'll have two moms, he he he." Izuku imagined an Eri chibi running around some Donna and Z chibis, shouting mommies, mommies he he he. It will be fun, but what if we keep it a secret from the others? At least until we see if it works? Maybe it's for the best. The girls would be very confused if we told them right away, thought Donna looking at the ceiling. "And don't even mention Garth. He's a good guy, but I feel like if I tell him he'll faint," said Izuku. "Izuku, I have a request for you," Donna said, making Izuku look at her confused. "You kissed Z, right?" "Well, you see. Me too. I want you to kiss me," she asked, blushing at both of them. Izuku approached Donna's face and both closed their eyes, being centimeters away from colliding their lips. Donna gently touched Izuku's neck, pulling him close to her, giving her a kiss. After a few minutes Izuku separated, panting. It wasn't a very intense kiss, but he had to put all the courage he had just to be able to be close to her. Now imagine being able to kiss her. Donna was also blushing, but with that pink aura and silly smile she put on sometimes, Izuku could have sworn that she had heart-shaped pupils. Maybe seeing those weird posters that Mineta had are affecting her now. With everything cleared up, Donna said that tomorrow she would talk to Z. Taking advantage of the fact that it is Saturday, Izuku would go with Eri for a walk in the park. With that, Izuku left the room to take a bath and go to sleep. Tonight was mentally exhausting. Eri saw her father leave with a smile and entered the room, seeing Donna in the state that Diana called the world rose-colored. She approached Donna with an innocent smile and asked her, "So, do I have a new mom now?" She asked the most innocent question in the world to Donna, who came out of her pink world to see her and blushed to extreme levels. She took it so she could have it on her lap. "What are you saying, Eri? That's still a bit long," she said, smiling at the albino, who nodded and ran off to her bed to sleep. The next day, Saturday morning, Izuku was with Eri walking towards the city park for a quiet day. Donna agreed to meet Z at the apartment so they could talk. Izuku had already planned to have a day alone with Eri. Since she arrived, he couldn't spend quality time as father and daughter alone without the company of the others. Once inside the park, they decided to take a walk around to see the place. It was very beautiful in Eri's opinion. It had very well kept trees and flowers. "Isn't she bad?" Eri asked, pointing to a bench where a 10-year-old blonde girl was throwing a tantrum. She had her hair tied in a ponytail and was wearing a uniform from what looked like a private school. Izuku recognized her immediately, Lena Luthor, the first threat he fought alongside the girls. "Yes, I think she's lost?" Izuku said, walking towards Lena along with Eri. "Stupid parents. Stupid punishment. Stupid heroes," said the girl while pouting, but she saw a green-haired teenager accompanied by a younger albino girl with ruby-colored eyes. "Sorry, I'm lost or something?" Izuku asked gently. Maybe this girl wanted to take over the city with the help of an army of robots, but she was still a girl and she could change for the better. "What do you care? For your information, I'm not lost," I shouted, trying to make them leave, but I couldn't and only earned a look of confusion from Eri. "Do they know who I am?" Izuku and Eri nodded. "You are Lena Luthor, child prodigy, sister of Lex Luthor, the greatest businessman/villain," said Izuku, and the girl puffed out her chest with pride. "Ha ha ha, yes, that's right, I'm the greatest and youngest criminal mind of all time. I'm Lena Luthor," the blonde girl shouted, causing some people in the park to look at her strangely. "I don't think you should shout that you're a criminal mastermind," Izuku said, scratching his cheek. "I'm Izuku Midoriya and this little one is Eri." "Hi Lena." Eri greeted with a smile. "Shall we play?" Lena looked at her confused for a moment. "Do you want to play? With me?" Lena asked, confused. "Why?" "I just want to play, you look fun, let's go." Eri took Lena's hand and ran off to a sandbox. Izuku watched Lena's behavior with grace. It seemed that she had never played with other people. He was even surprised every time Eri told him to play something else. He could see her smile too, not a villain smile or an arrogant one, a pure and gentle smile. She was happy. Izuku saw the time and it was almost 3 o'clock. He had planned to go to Sweet Justice with Eri. "Eri, it's time to go," Izuku shouted. He saw how Eri seemed to say goodbye to Lena, who for a second looked sad. "Ready daddy, let's go," said the albino. "Eri, don't you want to invite Lena with us?" Izuku asked, and Eri smiled and ran towards Lena. She saw them talking a little and then Erika took her hand and took her to Izuku. "I'll go, but only because Eri asked me to," Lena said like a tsundere. "You're alone, right? It wouldn't be very safe for you to be in a park alone at this age," said Izuku. "Don't get involved," said the blonde, walking with Eri holding hands. All the way to Sweet Justice, Eri and Lena kept talking as if they were lifelong friends. Izuku smiled at that. Maybe if Lena had a friend like Eri, she'd stop being a criminal mastermind. Upon arriving at Dulce Justicia, he noticed that his friend Wally was not at the counter. He assumed it was his day off and went with the kind lady to take his order of 3 ice creams. "That's weird," Lena said as she licked her ice cream cone. "I tried to destroy this place, but the lady isn't asking me to leave and she's being really nice to me." "It's because she gave you the benefit of the doubt," said Izuku, eating his ice cream. "She thinks you can change. Lena, you are very young and you are smart. You know you don't have to be evil. Think you can change the world by helping it. Don't be like your brother." "My brother is stupid. He always lets Superman defeat him and now he's in prison," said Lena. "Mom wants me not to be like him, but he's always saying things like, 'Lex, at your age you could do this. Lex had lots of friends. Lex this, Lex that. I'm sick of that.'" Izuku had everything clear now. Lena was not evil. Well, not entirely. She just wanted to prove to her mother that she can be better than Lex in everything, even as a villain. "Lena, you don't have to prove anything to anyone. You're amazing," Eri said with the spoon in her mouth. "I really like you. I like you. You're very pretty and cute." Lena blushed at Eri's payments. "Thank you," she shouted, blushing. "What do you say you meet up with Eri to play more often?" Izuku said. "I would like to," said the blonde with a smile. "By the way, I have a question for you," said Izuku. looking at the blonde girl. What were you doing alone in the park? Lena hesitated whether to answer or not. She didn't like teenagers, but she would make an exception with this one. No one ever apart from Mercy, the former secretary and assistant of her brother and now current nanny, had treated her so well. Deep down she liked that Izuku was kind to her. She could even swear that he didn't behave like one of those stupid teenagers. Maybe it was because he had Eri, and she corrected him, which made Eri's image better in her eyes. Well, you see. I ran away from my piano lessons, the blonde confessed. My mother forces me to take lessons just because Lex did when he was a kid. I don't even like the piano, I prefer a guitar or even a drum set. My dad knows how to play the guitar, said Eri, not realizing what Dad said. Does your father know how to play the guitar? Lena asked and Eri nodded. Who is your father? Izuku just sweated from nerves. In this world no one knew what happened to Eri, except for the League and her friends and current partners. Dad's here, said Eri, pointing at Izuku, who was nervous. Izuku is my dad. Lena was trying to process what her new and only friend had said. Her father was this very young boy. She estimated him to be about 16 to 17 years old while Eri told her she was 8. Something didn't add up in that. Before you ask, Eri is a rare adoption case, Izuku said. I plan on adopting her when she's 18, and until then, Eri will be on hold. Lena knew that was almost impossible, but she let it go. Eri was her friend now, and if she said that he was her father she would believe her. But a worried and upset brunette woman would enter the place. When the boys saw her, Lena hid under the table. Eri looked at her with stars in her eyes because she was very beautiful, and Izuku blushed a little. The woman was about 30 to 32 years old, had long, silky brown hair, brown eyes, and an hourglass figure with DD-cup breasts and wide hips. She was wearing a secretary's suit that made her figure look better. The woman was looking for something or someone, and then she noticed that under the green-haired man's table was a blonde girl. Miss Lena. The woman shouted, pulling Lena out from under the table. Hi Mercy, said Lena nervously by the woman's look. Miss, don't do something like that again. I was very worried when I went to your classes and they said you weren't there, said the woman, scolding Lena. I'm sorry Mercy, but you know I don't like those classes, said Lena. Besides, today I made a friend. Mercy looked at Lena in confusion until she noticed a little albino girl looking at her curiously. Lena made a friend. The woman knelt on the floor and wiped away a few tears. They grow so fast. The woman took Lena in a bear hug, leaving Lena breathless and asking to leave. Mercy let her go and went to Izuku. Thank you very much for taking care of her, he said, bowing and then looking at Eri. Thank you for being her friend. You can play another time. I have to take the young lady back to the building. It's nothing, Lena, she's a very good girl, said Izuku, and Mercy looked at him with a raised Sega. It's true, she's great, and I'm glad that Eri made a new friend. Lena thought for a bit and then grabbed Mercy's skirt to get her attention. Could Eri and Izuku come to the building with us? Lena asked, using the deadly puppy eyes technique in the rain. Okay, but they can't last long, said Mercy. With that, Lena took Eri by the hand and they left to get into a limousine. This is the first time I've seen Miss so happy, Mercy said, smiling. Well, Eri has the gift of making those she is with smile, said Izuku. Young Izuku, thank you for letting your little sister play with Lena, said Mercy. She didn't know anything about them and assumed they were siblings. Why yes, and it's no problem, said Izuku, a little nervous. Hurry up Dad, we'll go in a limo, Eri shouted from the window. Mercy stared at Izuku. This is going to be a long journey, thought the freckled man. After an awkward trip for Izuku where he had to explain why Eri called him Dad, and an entertaining trip for the girls who had fun talking. They arrived at a building with the LexCorp symbol. It turns out that Lena has to stay at LexCorp until her mother is free to go home, and until then Mercy takes care of her. And Mercy is not only Lena's nanny, she is also the owner of LexCorp, or at least until Lena is old enough to run it, since Lex is in prison with a life sentence. Have fun here while I go take care of some business, Mercy said, coming out of what looks like an entertainment room. Wow. That TV is really big, Eri said, seeing the size of almost the entire wall. It's the smallest one I have, you should see the one in my house, said the smiling blonde girl. Wow, that must be fabulous, said Eri. Dad, what do you say one of these days I can go to Lena's house? It depends on what his mother says, said Izuku, watching the city from the windows. Good afternoon, Miss Luther, said a robotic voice coming from a small robot that, for some strange reason, reminded Izuku of a small droid from a certain space movie. A robot? Eri screamed, hugging the machine. This is Ruber, Lena introduced him. His only function is to serve you, he's like a butler. Fascinating, said Izuku, analyzing the machine. Hatsune would love to meet you. Do you want cookies? Ruber asked, giving a plate full of cookies from his chest. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen, said Eri, taking the whole plate. Really? Lena asked. Then let me show you something. Lena went to a bookcase and moved one of the books. The bookcase moved to the side, showing a humanoid robot. What is that thing? Izuku asked. This is my best creation, Lena said. It's a combat robot that I designed, built and programmed myself. Wow, Lena, you must really be very smart, Eri said. Quite a genius, Izuku said with a smile. Why, yes, I am, Lena said with a blush on her face. And does it work? Eri asked, eating the last cookie on the plate. Of course it works, Lena shouted and grabbed a remote from the shelf. Turn it on. The robot made a few sounds and its hollow eyes lit up with a green light. You see, it is designed to neutralize any threat, both ours and yours, said Lena, but she didn't notice how the machine stared at the control. Threat detected, said the machine, taking control from Lena's hands. Hey, silly robot, you can't take it away from me, Lena shouted, kicking the machine. The robot turned to Lena and its green light eyes turned red. Threat detected. What? Lena, I think the robot is poorly programmed, said Izuku, looking at the robot. It isn't. I was the one who created it, it must work fine. The girl screamed. Eliminate threat. The robot readied its arm to strike Lena. Ah! Lena screamed. Izuku took her before the blow hit her and hit the floor, causing a small crater. The machine went on to see Izuku. Threat detected. Delete. But a vase hit him on the head, which made the robot turn to look at Eri. Threat detected. Eliminate. Let's run. Izuku, who already had Lena like a sack of potatoes, took Eri with his free arm and ran out of the place, being followed by the robot. How do we stop him? I screamed, scared. I don't know, I wasn't supposed to do this. The girl screamed, mercy. While running for safety, employees who saw the robot sounded the alarm and escaped. Threats detected, eliminate. The machine said to a group of armed guards. The robot eliminated them without problems, breaking a few bones, and continued on its way to its primary objectives. We need Mercy, she will help us, said the girl who was still being carried by Izuku. Does she have some kind of master control or something? Izuku asked. No, she'll destroy it, Lena said, pointing to an elevator. Let's go that way. I'm already entering the elevator and pressing the button to go to the Mercy office. Hey, could you put me down? Lena asked, blushing slightly. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm wearing a skirt and from running so much it lifted up a little. Izuku blushed and lowered the blonde. Already, Eri, I'm sorry. He shouted, closing his eyes. Oh, okay. Jay, just don't do it again. She screamed, blushing and covering her butt with her hands. Teenagers are perverts, they don't even wait until I'm older. Don't say that again, Izuku shouted. After all, he didn't want to get into trouble with the law. Eri looked confused at her friend's interaction with her father. They look like siblings, Eri said, mockingly. I wouldn't be the sister of a pervert like him. Lena screamed. I'm not a pervert, Izuku shouted, blushing. Looks like we're here, Eri said, and the elevator doors opened. They entered a large office and in it was Mercy watching some monitors everything that had happened. What are you doing here? You had to escape, Mercy shouted, seeing the girls. I think he's ignoring me, Izuku said, and still Mercy didn't look at him. He's ignoring me. We can't escape, that thing is hunting us, said Eri. Yes, Mercy, you have to destroy it, Lena shouted. Of course, miss, at your service, said Mercy, leaving the office. Wait a minute, Izuku shouted, and the girls turned to look at him. Are you just going to defeat a machine? Mercy smiled at Izuku and began to take off her jacket and shirt, leaving her in a white tank top. I used to be Lex Luthor's bodyguard. Do you really think I can't take care of a simple out-of-control robot? She said, and her left arm began to transform into a cannon. Wow, was all Izuku said, not only because of the arm, but also because of the bouncing of Mercy's breasts in that small shirt. I think being here is turning me into a pervert, he thought the last thing with a blush. I know it's fabulous, right? Mercy said, touching her cyber cannon arm, and by the way, my eyes are up here, she said the last bit mockingly. Pervert, said Lena and Eri, the latter with a small pout. Not you too, Eri. Thought the blushing green-haired boy. Okay, I'll go finish off that machine, Mercy said, but before she could walk out the door, Izuku stopped her. Now what do you want? I'll help you, Izuku said firmly. Mercy sighed. You won't take no for an answer, will you? She asked and saw Izuku, who smiled at her. "You're brave, kid, I like you, okay, let's go." "Girls take care," Izuku said, going with Mercy. Walking through the halls of the already desolate LexCorp, Izuku and Mercy found the robot about 3 floors below them. "Well, I'll see if I can take it down with my cannon," Mercy said, pointing at the robot. "I recommend you find something to attack it with if this doesn't work." Izuku looked around the hallway and saw the guard's baton lying on the floor and picked it up. "Who would leave this here?" "Probably a guard who preferred to escape rather than fight," Mercy said. "And I shot at the robot, who stopped dead and saw Mercy and her cannon and Izuku and the baton." "Threats detected, delete." "Shit didn't work," Mercy said, firing shot after shot. "There's no other way but to do it the old-fashioned way." Mercy ran out and gave a powerful blow to the machine with her bionic arm, followed by a high kick that made the machine retreat. "How can you kick so high in such a tight skirt?" Izuku asked, confused. He had never seen anything like that. "Don't question it, kid," Mercy said, smiling, "but wow, it's hard, my foot hurts." "Eliminate," said the robot, launching itself to attack. Izuku came out before Mercy and hit the robot's chest hard with the club, knocking it down. "I think this is no longer useful?" he said, looking at his destroyed weapon. "Izuku, be careful," Mercy shouted. Before Izuku could react, a metal fist hit him, causing him to become embedded in a wall, destroying it. "Damn piece of junk," Mercy shouted, attacking the robot blow after blow without letting him react. But in one of those she is taken by the wrist and the machine destroys her hand, taking off the "Perfect, now I have to get another one." Mercy looked at her destroyed bionic arm that was missing a hand. "Eliminate." The robot prepared another blow for Mercy. The woman prepared to receive him with her arms crossed in an attempt to minimize the damage. "One for all, 30%. A familiar voice shouted, and suddenly a strong current of air along with the sound of crumbling walls was heard. When Mercy saw who was in front of her, it was Izuku, surrounded by green and red rays with his arm extended and the hallway completely destroyed. She saw the holes in the walls and ran out to see where the robot was. A few meters away, buried in rubble, are the remains of the robot. Mercy turned to look at Izuku, who was hesitating. "Out of nerves, you and I have to talk." For the next hour Izuku had to tell Mercy and Lena, who saw on the monitors everything that happened, telling them everything except that he comes from another world where the majority of the population has certain superhuman abilities. But everything calmed down a bit when Eri showed her little horn, giving tenderness to Mercy and Lena, who were playing with her little horn and her cheeks. In the end, both Mercy and Lena agreed to keep the secret and not to worry. After all, Mercy is no longer loyal to Lex, and Lena accepted on the condition that Eri come to play from time to time. With that, they went straight to the apartment in a limousine. Upon opening the door, Izuku and Eri found Donna and Z watching TV and Diana cooking. "Hello. We're back," Eri shouted. "Eri." The females shouted when they saw the little girl. "Izuku." Diana called Izuku, who looked at her with some nervousness. "Welcome to the family," she said, giving him a smile and a thumbs up. "Have they told you yet?" Izuku asked the two girls. "No, apparently he's known since yesterday," said Z. Apparently when Z asked her for advice she had everything planned, Donna said, blushing slightly. "What are you talking about?" I asked. "Nothing important, honey," said Z, carrying Eri. "Tell me what you and your daddy did today?" Eri got excited and nodded a little. "Today I made a new friend and Dad fought together with a beautiful lady against an evil robot." Eri was so excited that she didn't see how the women stared at Izuku with a face of "you won't go out alone with her for a while."